Hello, everyone. We're going to get in there and cover another topic today about the pen tools and selections, mainly about 3 ways to save selections today. Last night we talked about how to use the pen tool and sort of how the pen tool relates to paths and stuff like this. So today it's going to be a lot simpler and shorter lesson. I know some people have requested simple and short lessons. So we just have this photo here, and it has these windows in it, and this is not my photo, by the way. Let me get into this other mode, and I'm just sort of going slow sometimes here at the start. Sometimes people like to join us live. I tried a whole countdown timer the other night, but it sort of messed me up. But 3 ways to save selections. So as you know, we're not going to go through and make a selection and do all that today, but because it would take too long. But I just want to let you guys know ways to save your selections after you've made them. So this might come up, and I feel like it fosters an understanding of Photoshop. So we have the pen tool here, and if you missed that lesson last night, go ahead and watch that. That was the title of it was the pen tool, something like that. It had the pen tool in the title. Okay, so I'm just clicking. It's very easy to just click, and if I can hold down Command right there, if I feel like I was a little bit off, I can go ahead and drag that around. All right, that anchor point. Okay, no problem there. The pen tool is very editable. It's very, very easy to work with. So we're just getting through here, and we'll go ahead and close that off. Okay, and one of the things we looked at last night was we can go ahead and come up here and start another selection. That one's already closed down there. We can go ahead and start another selection up here. These are actually paths what I'm making, so I don't mean to, got to get the nomenclature right. So these are paths that the pen tool makes. They're not selections yet, okay? And there's a big difference. So we want to talk about the 3 ways to save your selections, and the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start off with the sort of most obscure way. We're gonna come over here to paths and the paths tab on our layers window, okay? And the work path here, you notice it says it in a little bit italic writing and stuff. Now, one of the ways we can save our selections is go ahead and save them as their original paths, like before we even turn it into a selection, okay? So we can double click on this and just call it something, top 2 windows, whatever we want. We could have went ahead and done all the windows, but you get the point. So these are still paths made by the pen tool, and we're just saving them in our paths tab as the paths. They're still paths. Okay, so we're going to say okay to that, and it saved that there. Now what would happen if I'm going to press escape, which is another thing we learned last night, how to get out of your path. You just press escape once, press escape again with the pen tool selected. You can go ahead and start over. Now you'll notice our things stayed there, our little path, it stayed there, so that's great. So that's what we wanted. But if we start a new one now, you'll notice if we start just a completely new one, it pops up. But these work path, the one when you see it in italic, those are just temporary. So the way we did it, we went ahead and double clicked on it and we saved it. So that's going to stay there. This guy is going to stay there. So that's great. So that was our first way to save our selections, is to go ahead and go over there into the paths tab. And guess what? We can come over here and work on our layers, do whatever we want, come back an hour later, and maybe everything is deselected. We've lost that. We can come back here and we can just hold down, let's see, it is Command, and click on that, and we're going to get our selection, okay? Another way we can do that is we want to get our path back. I believe we can come down here, and I don't do this a lot, so bear with me. That's stroke path with brush. So load path as selection. So that's what we just did, right? I wanted to, so you can do that one, so you can get that, and then you can get your path back, okay? You can go ahead and get the path back just by pressing that. Okay, so there's different ways to work with that, all right? So that was our first way to save one of our selections, okay? One of the things I wanted to do was just to show you that all you have to do is click that to get your path back. You're just clicking that, and the path is coming back, okay? So I can do the whole thing where I press Command Enter to get my selection, right? Because when we do that, that's how we turn our path into a selection. Command enter. Okay, so that was our first way, and maybe the most obscure and under discussed way to save our selections. Let's go into another way. Okay, so we're out here and we've just made our, let's go ahead and get our, we'll go ahead and deselect that, and we have it. We can get it back anytime, right? We just click that, it's there. So we have that path there. We're going to go ahead and press Command Enter, and we have them as selections now. So we're going to head to the channels, and we'll come down here and load channel as selection, and this one is this is the one we want. So save selection as a channel. So this is another way we can save our selections right here, and this is actually what happens when you come up here and say save selection. This is exactly what happens, except you're doing it with that menu. So you're just doing it. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and as you'll see, it actually labeled it for us. And once again, this will stay here. If we come back and work on this document 2 weeks later and we've done hours and hours of editing, this selection will be here. Okay, so if we lose that, I'll go ahead and I'll press Command D and I'll lose that selection. If I came back to this document 3 weeks later, I'm going to have this down here, and this is what, believe it or not, but this is actually what a selection is, what you're looking at right now. This is what selections are based on when you see the marching ants. So let me go ahead and try and make that point clear. We make selections from our channels by holding down Command and clicking on that channel that we've saved, and that'll get us our marching ant selection. Can you see, just by looking at this, what I'm trying to say? Our channels are actually what our selections are. The marching ants, it's actually based off these black and white information within the channels. If there was more of a sort of a softer line here, well, it would just be a little gray, a shade of gray. So this is actually how Photoshop read selections. In other words, that's what they're based off of, is black and white information in your channels tab. Okay, it's sort of abstract, I know, but it sort of goes back, and this is what we were talking about last night. A lot of people don't have an understanding of what's going on in Photoshop, and I think it's really good to understand this stuff. So that little fact right there is very important, that your selections, your marching ants, are actually based off of black and white information in your channels, in what they call these alpha channels. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get back to RGB and delete that, and we're going to look at the last way to save a selection. Okay, we'll come out to layers, and this is the easy way, right? The spoon-fed way, and the way that most of us know. But I think the only problem with this way is that it just fosters a little bit of lack of understanding of what's going on in Photoshop. But we can go ahead, and what I'm going to do here, I'm going to delete this right now, delete that alpha channel, because we're gonna have something pop up over there. I have the channels tab selected there. I'm going to come up here to select, and I'm going to say save selection, and we'll just say, our save selection via menu. And as you keep your eye over here, just as we were just saying, this is what actually Photoshop does. When it's exactly what it does, what we just did ourselves. So I think it's cool if you can go ahead and come in here and do this stuff manually. And so you can see our selection right there. Photoshop saved it for us, okay, right in the channels tab. And if we came back up here a couple weeks later once again, and we wanted to get that guy, what we'd be referencing is that channel right there, named whatever we named it. Okay, we'd be referencing that. Okay, so we go ahead and reselect it, and we've got it there. All right, so same things going on, everything's the same, but it's just with a menu up there, that's all. All right, so don't forget a little review there. If you come back out here now, there's different ways to get that selection back after you've made it. This may have been a really hectic selection where you're selecting around all this. You want to make sure you keep that. And the different ways were just, we got that one way where we had the top two windows, and we did it with the paths. We saved the original paths from the pen tool, and we can go ahead, they're there, you just can't see the anchor points. We can go ahead and hit Command Enter, and there we go, we got them back. And we'll go ahead and deselect that. And remember, you can also save it yourself manually in the channels tab, which I'd recommend you guys doing it this way. And that way, if you do a little feather or something on here, then it's going to save all that information. So let me grab that by holding down Command and just grabbing that selection. So if I feather this, if I go ahead and feather it, select, modify feather, maybe I'll give it a 1 pixel feather. I want to go ahead and save that one now. Maybe I say, oh, this one's better. I wanted a 1 pixel feather on that. I don't like this one. So I'm going to go ahead and click that button, and I'm going to delete this one because that one was our original, and this one has the, we'll just rename this 1 pixel feather top windows. Okay, and there you go, you have it there. Alright, so that was the second way to save it, and we'll just deselect that. And so that one has a 1 pixel feather on it. You couldn't do that with the paths. You wouldn't be able to do that. That was just your original paths. You can't really feather. Okay, so that might be an advantage to going ahead and working in there in the channels palette and saving your selections with the feathers on there, whatever you have on there, whatever you desire. Okay, so that was it. That was a quick one. I hope that some of these videos may be just ways to kind of get in there and understand Photoshop a little bit better. I think that's really important, because as you start to advance, there are certain things that aren't going to make sense unless you have a much better understanding of Photoshop. I know I've had that in my career. If I didn't understand this or that, I wouldn't be able to do this or that. Okay, so yeah, these lessons aren't always about what do you call it, like how to get a window pull. It's just understanding things on a deeper level, and that's hopefully what I feel this video did for you. Okay, so thanks again for watching, everyone, and I will see you for the next one. All right.